Brian Taylor here, owner of Taylor Aircraft. Today I want to show you a few special features of our T1-Pro paramotor, also known as the Mantis. So when I originally got into paramotoring, I noticed there was a lot of fundamental design flaws and just a lot of things were missing in the market. There's a lot of things that people really wanted, and there wasn't a paramotor that tried to incorporate just about everything. So we wanted to build the safest, best flying paramotor on the market that was just extremely user-friendly and also at a reasonable price point. So I think we've kind of hit every mark, and I'll just show you a couple of the quick features. So one of the features is you'll see that how the paramotor right now is raised up. The arms are locked out. Ours is the only paramotor, and I'm just using a little pin temporarily, where the arms can either be active or you can pin them and lock them out into a fixed position. Now, when they're locked out in this fixed position, it tones out about 20% of the feedback from the wing in flight. Doesn't make it any safer, any more dangerous one way or the other. It's just in the active arm mode, you can really lean into your turns and get a lot of weight shift. But also when the wing hits, an unstable air mass, it can also rock you a little bit more. So if, let's say you're going on a long cross-country flight, you start out early in the morning and it gets a little bit later as the thermals pick up. If you have the arms locked out, it'll give you a little more sense of security in flight. You won't feel as much feedback from the wing. Also, you can transport it easy and just throw it down in a pickup truck or anything, and it just makes it extremely easy. So to fly active or fixed arm is just a unique feature to our paramotor. We also want extremely maintenance friendly. Starters and all that just need to be replaced every so often. We've got the whole webbing of the paramotor cut out, so you can just drop these two straps and you can get to your starter and replace it real easy. Everything on this paramotor is just extremely maintenance friendly. So what we've done is we've created just one of the most anti-torque flying and straightest flying paramotors out there. You'll see a lot of manufacturers that have the anti-torque tabs, big paddles at aggressive angles or lamels all over. Anything above about 16 degrees, all you do is destroy the airflow into the propeller. You don't get mechanical push from the air hitting them, spinning the cage. It doesn't happen. You need an actual airfoil, and you can only go a certain amount of degrees to generate lift and actually fly the cage in the opposite direction. Air does not hit these giant paddles and spin it. Basically, all that does is disturb the airflow as much as 2 square feet with a bad air into the propeller, which reduces torque by reduced thrust. But it's working a little bit, but for the wrong reasons. Ours, we aerodynamically fly the cage. We actually have 6 feet of anti-torque tabs, and they're actually flying the cage in the opposite direction. We do have an offset, but we don't lift like most paramotor manufacturers. You'll have that 1-inch offset, and you're actually lifting and twisting the arm, and which is really bad. So we're the only ones that have a shoulder assembly that put the active arm into a shear load condition, not a bending load. So if you just have a little bolt head and you've got a lot of prying action, over time those bolts have been known to fail, and you see a lot of paramotor manufacturers have a backup safety strap because they've got insufficient connection points. Most of them aren't even using bushings or bearings on anything. We have actually needle bearings in all movable surfaces. So right now, and this is a 5/16 oversized shackle with a through bolt all the way. The thread should not start and thread into the shackle. They should go past it. So everything that we've done is for safety in mind. Now, as far as our slight offset, now we actually lift straight up and down on the arms. We're not twisting the arms like most manufacturers are. We're lifting straight up and down. The Dudek backup safety seat strap is acting as a spacer to keep the carabiner, or the carabiner slid all the way over so it doesn't slide back this way. If you have a lot of slop, then if you offset it and then allow the carabiner to slide back over, you've just undid everything that you're trying to accomplish. So there's a lot of missing points that other manufacturers have neglected to catch. So on ours, we have the anti-torque tabs, proper little offset on the arms, but we actually lift straight up and down so we're not twisting them. And the materials, we actually use 7075 T6 on our arms, not 60-61, which 60-61 is fine, but 70-75 is almost double the strength. It's almost the same strength as like a chromoly steel. So very strong arms, probably the strongest out there on the market. And then with our connection point, we have a 3/4 inch solid U fitting here, and everything's on bearings, so there's no load. You can't snap a bolt head or anything like that. It's very strong. This is one of the strongest paramotors on the market. You can do pretty much anything to this thing and you're not going to hurt it. So you wouldn't do this with most other units. It works really well for transport. Many people have mentioned, you know, hey, put a carry handle here, but you can't lift a paramotor like this. It's too much weight. And most other manufacturers, they Velcro their paramotor together, so when you've got the arm spacing coming together, you have bigger gaps for the hoop to bend or to get netting into the propeller. We've evenly spaced out our spars. So one, if you go to full throttle, if you were to ground start, which it shouldn't, but if it went to full throttle, it can hit your body. You're not supposed to use the net to protect yourself. You're supposed to use the frame. So anyway, then also having those bars horizontal, now you can simply lift and carry this anywhere you want. A couple other little features. We read a lot of people like the idea of air camping or long cross countries. They want to take supplies with them. So with our drop down gear fall protection, I'll go into that later, but yes, we have an actual crumple zone and it does work, but it doubles as a carry area where you could put gear, strap it down where it can't go into the propeller. So ours is one of the only paramotors that you can actually use for air camping, which is a really cool feature. Most of them you don't have that option with. Now, as far as a crumple zone, we call it fall protection because the connotation it has in the industry, but it is very important. The paramotor should protect you. A paramotor loaded with gas is in the low 70-pound range, pretty much all of them. So when you come down, if you come down hard, if you have a really high-mounted paramotor on your back, you have to take all the hit and you're gonna end up with broken ankles or bad knees or something's gonna happen. Our paramotor, the way it sits on your back, hangs down a little bit. Our drop-down gear allows so the frame will hit when you get to about this angle and it'll pop you back up in the standing position. Let's say for a trainee, a lot of people turtle, they fall over. No one's been able to turtle our units. They hit, pop back up standing, but if they come down hard, the unit hits. With our webbing only on one side, when it takes a lot of load, but when it takes an excessive amount, this starts to bend and allows it to fold up. So yes, we have the only true crumple zone. We just call it fall protection because, yes, it does work. Now, feature the arms locked out. It's very handy to just sit on the paramotor and get yourself strapped in. Very convenient. So the arm's locked out, you can get out or get strapped in this thing very comfortably. Almost use this little seat, and it's very comfortable. If you notice, the paramotors that floats with the flotation, the harness, little trapped air in the tank, trapped air in the tubing. This is one of the only paramotors that will actually float as well. It won't bring you down to the bottom. So very unique features on this paramotor. Unlike anything in the industry, we went with also 20-degree frame in the bend in the frame. That gives you lumbar support. Every car seat, office chair has lumbar support for more comfort. We fly as many as 2 to 3 hours in flight. So if it doesn't have this bend here, it doesn't matter. All of our paramotors were at that 7 to 10 degree angled backwards as far as the thrust line. So if your paramotor just has a flat plate, it doesn't matter even if it's at a different angle than the prop line, all of your weight is still compressing down on your spine. Where having the lumbar support, you actually feel that in flight. It takes the pressure off your back. So very nice feature, but it also, by kicking the frame about 4 inches forward down here, we're able to hard mount our harness. We have dedicated harness tabs all over. So there's no wiggle and wobble to this, where most paramotors, especially the tubular type ones, the harness just wraps around the frame. A lot of times they have to leave a couple inches of slack, so as the active arm comes up, see, we're pretty much pulled tight here. If this was 4 inches back, it wouldn't allow this arm to go upward. So it's very important that it has that feature. So, oh yeah, and then with the harness tabs, when it's on your back and you lean down, the paramotor is not going to swing out on you or feel like it's going to fall off. It's very rigid, very solid feeling on your back, which is nice. Also, if you look at paramotors when they take off, you'll see most of them, because the torque, the paramotors, if their body is here, the paramotor is actually at an angle. Well, that's preloading your right riser, because the torque and the paramotor is sloppily mounted to the harness with a lot of extra wiggle room, and that allows the paramotor torque on your back during takeoff. On ours, it's rigidly mounted, so your body holds the paramotor straight as you run and take off for a nice, even flight. And then also, every little feature we tried to think of. So with the arms unpinned, you'll notice how high our seat still is off the ground. Part of it is getting into the paramotor. So most of them where the frame and the gear and the hoop is all the way to the ground, and the seat's on the ground, you basically have to sit on the ground in an uncomfortable position trying to strap the paramotor on, then find a way to get up. On ours, just to get in it, with the seat in the right position, my butt is at the perfect position, the harness, knees on ground, I could strap in and then get right up. Nice and easy to do. So, and then yeah, with our sturdy frame, see how rigid that is? You can get it, throw it around. So some of these other paramotors that are anodized and all pretty looking, they're gonna get beat up in a short amount of time. Your carabiner slap down, all the anodizing goes away here. If you bump, hit anything, all this anodizing gets ruined and it looks sloppy over time. Ours, best paramotor you could use even for a flight school. It just works. You can beat it up even with the arms not locked out. There's really, listen how solid that is. Most of these titanium paramotors, they'll bend under their own weight if you move them around too much. Everything's riveted, bolted, nice and sturdy. Not going to find a stronger, better, safer paramotor on the market. Brian Taylor, take care.